This used to be a pick hammer, but I've ground the end off and converted it to use ultra high molecular weight plastic or delrin inserts that I can make myself, and I'm going to show you how I did it. I am not a fan of pick hammers. A lot of times they do more harm than they do good. Like this long pick that I had is now a long cross peen. I welded a piece of 3/8 4041 onto it. Now I have a nice cross peen, and I resurfaced it to be a nice high crown hammer. On this one, I have a different idea. I do a lot of aluminum work, and I want a plastic cross peen. So I scored a line on it. It's going to be my rough cut starter line, and we're going to convert this hammer into something a little more useful. Step one, I ground the point down and gave it a nice radius just to start with. And now I'm going to come in the bandsaw, and I'm just going to take that line that I scribed onto here, and I'm going to cut down somewhere into here, straight down to that line, to give myself a nice stop for the end of the piece of plastic, the piece of delrin we're going to use. Now, I'm going to have to shim this up in order to keep it nice and square with the bandsaw. And that way we can make this cuts, and once we have the fixturing set up, then we can make a longer cut down through the center. I just eyeballed the cut nice and square down onto our scribed lines. Ended up having a Lovejoy coupling and a dolly that held it nice and rigid for me to make that operation. So I finished off with the cut wheel, and that's what we have now, is that little shelf. So now I'm going to come in with a grinder, and I'm going to clean this up with a grinder and a file and make sure that the flat is perpendicular to the handle of the hammer. And I'm going to try to leave just a little bit of radius inside of here, but keep this shelf nice and perpendicular to the flat. See all the low spots by doing that. I'm just checking it by eye to make sure I'm still perpendicular and getting the last little bit of this dressed up and even. we have it nice and square, and we have it pretty good and flat through there. So what we're going to do is now take this piece of delrin, we're going to mount this piece of delrin onto the backside, and then we can have any shape, nice soft plastic delrin face that we want on this hammer, and we can make it interchangeable to where we could just take it off and put it back on any way that we want it. So I'm going to lay out center, and I'm going to drill through this for some hardware. So I fixtured it up and I drilled some holes. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to come to the back side, and it's got a little bit of a taper there. I'm going to file flats where those hardware is going to come through, just to keep it nice and even on the tap. So now I've just filed a little flat onto it so the tap will come out nice and squarely. So once we drilled the holes on center, now we're tapping them, and that'll give us the ability to put hardware in and hold our piece of plastic in place. I have lubricated the tap, and I've run it just most of the way through just to save time. Now this was case hardened, and I did have to apply a little bit of heat in order to get the drills to go through it without dulling. But it shouldn't affect any other part of the hammer. As you can see, I didn't apply a ton of heat, but I did have to apply heat. This one drilled right through beautifully. This one was hardened, and I dulled a drill bit out and had to resharpen it, and that's when I annealed it afterward with just a little bit of heat. So what I have here is a little threaded insert that's a center finder. I've put 2 of them inside of the hammer, and now I can take my piece of delrin or ultra high molecular weight plastic. I can set it right up against our edge onto our part, smack it with the hammer, and I'll have located the holes for so now I have located the holes to be able to drill and countersink it, and we can put this piece of plastic into our hammer. So here we are. I've made a quick piece of ultra high molecular weight plastic to put into it, and we can use different thicknesses and whatever we need to shape it in, and we can give it different shapes on the end now. So when I'm doing something like wire edge on a piece of aluminum, I can come in here and I can strike and not have to worry about marring the plastic or marring the aluminum. I don't have to worry about marring the aluminum, but I get the job done, and it's a replaceable insert.